All right, in this video, I am going to show you how to find a recipe using ChatGPT. So recently I got a food dehydrator and I want to get a recipe to just start from. So during my first food dehydration, I just want to ask ChatGPT to suggest something for me. I know that I want to try to do a fruit, but I don't have a particular fruit in mind. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT for that. And I've already typed out my prompt, so I'm just going to paste it in here. I just purchased a Cosori Food Dehydrator. Give me a beginner-friendly recipe to dehydrate a fruit. Let's see what we get. All right, so I'm getting a recipe for apple chips. And you can see that it's giving me the prep steps, how to arrange the pieces on the dehydrator trays, temperature, how long, and then how to know if they're done. And next it's telling me, hey, after that you can try bananas, strawberries, mango slices, etc. And it's asking me if I want it to suggest more recipes. So let's assume right now I don't want anything else. I just want to try the apple chips and see how that goes, and then come back later maybe and ask for another fruit recipe. So what that means is that we now have this apple chips recipe here in our side panel. I've mentioned in a previous video that as you chat more with ChatGPT, this will fill up, right? Your side panel over here will fill up with chats. And if you decide you want to come back later and look for another one, if you've been, starting a lot of new chats, it might be difficult for you to find this conversation to come back to and say, hey, yeah, I'm ready for another recipe. So a way that you can handle that is by creating a project. Think of a project as like what you would think of as a folder, right? It's a place to store certain chats. So we're going to create a project called dehydrator recipes. And I could, let me just create that. I could get more general and just call it recipes and put all recipes in that folder anytime I've asked for any kind of recipe. I could get more specific and say dehydrator fruit recipes. It's really up to you and what you want to do. And if you decide later that you want to split things out more, you certainly can do that because you can move chats in and out of projects. So for right now, we know that we have a dehydrator recipes folder and we have an apple chips recipe. So I'm going to add this now to my dehydrator recipes project. So now you see it's gone out of here, so I don't have to search through a lot of different chats to find that one. It's now here in dehydrator recipes, and you see the apple chips recipe here. Now, let's assume that I'm coming back here and I want to ask for another fruit. I could go here to my dehydrator recipes. I could click on this apple chips recipe and go ahead and ask for, trying another recipe. But maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want each one to be its own recipe. So in that scenario, I would go back up here to the folder, and instead of continuing with this one, I would ask it for another recipe directly from within the folder. So starting a new chat, but a new chat about dehydrator recipes. So let's say, give me a recipe for blueberries. So note that it said here's a simple beginner-friendly recipe to dehydrate blueberries in your Cosori Food Dehydrator. So I told it that I had that type of dehydrator in my first chat. I didn't put it in this one. I also in this one did not tell it that I wanted a dehydrator recipe. I just said, give me a recipe for blueberries. But because that's what this folder is about, it knows that that's what I want. So I don't have to go through a big long explanation. I can just say, give me a recipe for this. And it knows that that's what I'm talking about as a food dehydrator recipe. So you see, it gave me the blueberry recipe. And now if we go to new chat, kind of get out of that, and I'm gonna just refresh my screen. If we go to dehydrator recipes, we now have two separate recipes here, one for apple chips, one for blueberries. I like that because I don't want to have to dig through a chat that may get very lengthy if I keep using the same chat and just asking for more fruits and more fruits and more fruits. And then maybe I mix, I don't know, a meat or a nut or something like that in there, and then I've got even other types in there. So I want to keep them separate so that I can just simply scroll through the list that would come up here that would show me, oh, this is the one for blueberries, this is the one for apple chips, and then, maybe I want to ask for a bacon recipe. That didn't work so well. It gave me a recipe for making crispy bacon, but not dehydrator. So now it's saying, do you want me to give you a dehydrator style bacon jerky recipe? And I'm going to say, rather than continuing on with this one, because I don't want a recipe at all for just regularly cooking bacon, right? So instead of continuing on with this one and telling it, yes, give me that now, I've always got this at the front of it, I don't want that. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say, give me a bacon dehydrator recipe. Because it was the first time I asked for a meat, it may have thought that I didn't want a dehydrator recipe. So I got a little bit more specific this time. And this is a great point. If you don't get the result that you want, think of how you can change your prompt in order to get what you want. So now it's giving me this, dehydrator recipe. Now what I want to do is I'm going to refresh the screen here because you see I got this bacon recipe suggestion that was not at all what I wanted. I don't want to keep that in my dehydrator recipe. So I'm going to, you can do one of two things. Maybe you do want a bacon recipe, you just don't want it there. Remove it from the dehydrator recipes, but it'll stay in your chat history. Or if you don't want it at all, you would simply delete it and it will be gone. So now we have 3 recipes in our dehydrator recipes list, right? We have our bacon one, our blueberries, and our apple chips. And we can go off and make those recipes, decide if we liked them or not. You could always come back and delete them if you're like, oh, I didn't like that and I'm never going to try it again. Or you can just continue to grow your dehydrator recipes project and continue adding more recipes to it. I hope that you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.